Hello, this is Team Outliers, and then today we're going to talk about our progress for Lab 4 Part 2 report. And firstly, Tiffany will go through how we use how we do the conduct the message content abstraction.
Yeah, so for this part of the assignment, we use the doc2vec, which is a neural network approach that maps documents to vectors in a high dimensional space. Then we used grid search to find the best parameters for our text data, with the hyperparameters, vector size, minimum count of each word appearing, number of training epochs, and the variant of the doc2vec, which could be either the distributed memory or the distributed bag of words. And we found that the best parameter for DM is DM equals 0, which means that the distributed bag of words variant of doc2vec fits our documents more, which are under the subreddit of Ask Politics. And the distributed bag of words variant is faster to train, and it treats the document as a collection of words instead of taking into account the order of the words. And the other best parameters are epochs equals 20, minimum count equals 2, meaning that the words have to appear at least twice to be considered. And the vector size is 50, which means that the dimension of each vector would be 50. And for the next part, which is the clustering part, Claire will talk about it.
So for our clustering algorithm, we decided to use k-means and hierarchy clustering. So the first step of doing clustering is to pre-process the data. So what we did was so in addition to the clean data set that we have from Lab4 Part 1, we removed a lot of stop words as well as turning all the text to lowercase and just substituting some characters in the subreddit post under Ask Politics. So for example, a lot of people use as billion and M as million. So that's something that we saw in the post content. So we decided to substitute it with the actual number, billion, million, and thousands. And then we remove stop words, and then we lematize the text so that everything is in consistent form. So after that, we apply the word2vec to get the vectors for each text content. And then for the k-mean clusterings, we decided to use the optimal clustering to find out what is the optimal number of clusters to use. So for example, the graph here, we can see that the optimal cluster, which is the elbow method that we were implementing, is about 4. So that's what we decided to go for the k-mean clustering. So when we have, and then we fit in the k-mean clustering, and then use the dimensionality of TF-IDF vectors for visualization. So here we can see that all of our contexts were clustered into 4 different groups, and then we can see some distinctive patterns between the groups. And next, we try to find the keywords in each clusters and then plot them in word cloud. So these are the top keywords from each clusters, and then below, if we can see, here's the clusters for the word cloud for each clusters. So we can see that for cluster 0, keywords are the most popular keywords are state and people. Cluster 1, party, Trump. Cluster 2, Russia, war. Cluster 3, president, vice. And then the second method we decide to use is hierarchy clustering. So for that, we first have to calculate the pairwise distance and then input that into the hierarchy clustering package from SciPy. And we were able to generate 3 labels for 3 clusters. And then here's the dendrogram that showcases our clustering methods. So as you can see, 3 clusters are pretty good in terms of the hierarchy clustering. And again, we use dimensionality reduction to showcase our clusters visually. And again, we were trying to find the keywords for each clusters, and here are the word clouds for hierarchy clustering. Next, we did a model evaluation to see which cluster has a better performance. So here we can see that we decided to utilize silhouette scores, the Davies-Bowden index, and then the Horobots index. So this for the silhouette index, silhouette score, it measures the consistency within the clusters, and then range from -1 to 1, with 1 being the best. And then we can see here that k-means outperform hierarchy clustering in in most of the metrics, and having a high COS scores is pretty important in terms of having a distinct cluster. So we decided to in the end go with k-mean clusterings. And next, Raj is going to explain how we build up the pipeline for this project.
For Lab4 Part2, the final requirement is the automation. So for that, I've taken the scripts from Lab4 Part1, like database connection, cleaning, and fetching a Reddit post. And for automation, I've used threading, multi-threading concept in Python. So what this basically does is it just runs the thread with a timeout, which is specified by the user. And when the user enter a quit in the terminal, the program stops execution and exit the. So basically for this, I used a function called automation. In this function, it will it will not stop if the event is true, and it will run with a time duration, with a sleep time duration until the event is false. And there is also another requirement saying if the script is not running, I mean, like it's in the sleep mode, user should have the ability to enter some keywords or a message. And we have to display like the messages, like how similar to the data we collected. For this, I used a function called plot cluster, and it takes a command list and user input as a parameter, and I'm extracting the comments from the comment list and vectorizing the comments, and I'm also doing the same for user input. After that, I'm running a cosine similarity search, which is actually a library from sklearn. After that, I'm just plotting the clusters in k-mean and just plot the difference between the user input and the comments in the cluster to visually show how like the similarity is. Yeah, and we can go ahead and run this function. And for this, I have predefined the posts to be fetched from the Reddit as 20, and I'm specifying the time here. Let's say like it should update for every 1 minute. And, yeah, start with a database setup and start fetching the post. And yeah, there are like 4 types of subsection in Reddit as top, post, rising, hot, and new. For each section, it's tried to find a 20 posts and update the database, and also handle a special case for updating the database by if the post is already exist, it will skip the post and search for other posts. That way it will search and update the database. And also if the Reddit API hit request has set on the maximum limit, the program will wait for 60 seconds and redo its task. It's like going to end. It's in the last phase of fetching the Reddit post. Yes, and you can see like there are like lots of posts which is already exist in the database, and yeah, and then also it inserted 62 posts. Say example, yeah, for this like it's right now it's in the sleep mode. Let's wait for another minute and just check if the program is running again. And to briefly explain about the file structure of the Lab4 and automation script, and yeah, this k-means is an extra function, like it's actually what Claire and Tiffany explained. And this fetch and clean connection I have used from the part 1. And this message to vector is another doc to vector post. But after that, I feel like for cosine similarity, the vectorization is actually a good one for converting a user input into a single dimension vectors. So, and also for like a similarity, I have already told before. After the vectors converted, it uses the k-means to plot the clusters, and to visually show how the similarity between the user input and the comments that we are already fetched from the Reddit. Yeah, see, after like 1 minute, it started running again. And yeah, it will start running from starting again. It will search for like 4 subdomains on the Reddit, and it will insert and it will update the database. Yeah, it's done again. So example, now I want to search today hot topic I have seen Reddit is like Florida election. There's something going with, and it will exactly reach the thing. Yeah, you see there is yes, this is the comments and this is our user input. So these comments are in the same cluster. That's what we visualize. And yeah, distance between these 2 points, or like compare the distance between these 2 points. And yes, and according to our comment section, we have gathered the posts and comments and the sub comments in the same tabular column. I mean, like the same column. So it will actually fetch the whole comments and it will return it a paragraph, like say example about Florida election, and it will other things, and it has the post as well as the comment. If I it started running again. Let's wait, and then after that, if we use a quit string, the program will quit and exit the whole automation process. Let's wait for another 30 seconds so the program will finish and we can see how the quit efficiently works. I can give you the logical explanation how the quit works. So it will handle the hand user input function will handle the thing. If it will quit, it will show the display the logging info, and it will stop the event. So event is called in a main function. So in the automation thread, every thread will be considered as an event every time it starts. And then like if you see an automation function, it will fetch for post and it will sleep on duration. So yeah, it's about to end, and we say quit. Oh, I've written QQIET, my bad. Say, and sometimes it takes some time. For even say example, it will went for sleep for 1 second, and it will actually quit the post again. So it's the sleep time is 1 second, and it will quit the post again. See, the event is stopped, and the automation process stops after using the quit. So that's it. That's it for lab assignment part 2. Thank you.